Annie Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. We're going to start there with the very latest. And the very latest is this. Investigators left that home and the property just about an hour and a half ago. While inside, there were camera flashes coming from the house and from the garage. That house belongs to Annie Guthrie and her husband. It has been empty for several days now, with only security guards parked outside. But here's what you haven't heard. Someone found something behind Annie Guthrie's house. Not the FBI, not the sheriff, not the 24-person task force that has spent 58 days chasing 40,000 tips trying to find Nancy Guthrie. No, this was someone with a phone and a camera. They walked into a stretch of desert that, as far as anyone knows, law enforcement never searched. And what they pulled out of the ground changes the conversation about this case. I am not going to tell you what it is yet. Not until you understand where it was found. Not until you understand whose home it was found behind. Not until you understand that this was not a one-time discovery. It happened again. And then it happened a third time. 3 separate finds. 3 separate dates. The same strip of desert behind the same property. Reported to the sheriff's department each time. And each time, nothing. No statement. No press conference. No acknowledgement. Just silence. But here is what I will tell you. One of the items pulled from that desert matches the description of what Nancy Guthrie was wearing on the night she was dragged from her bed. And the home it was found behind, the home that sits right there at the edge of that wash, that belongs to the daughter who cooked Nancy dinner that evening. The daughter who was the last family member to see her before it happened. The daughter who arrived at the crime scene the next morning and told investigators what this was before they had processed a single piece of evidence. The daughter whose car has been in pieces in a law enforcement garage for 58 days. I have the photographs. I have the dates. I have the locations. I have a tweet with fewer than 300 views that not a single news outlet has touched. And by the time this video is over, you will have seen every image, every detail, and every connection to the blood trail, the exit path, and a pair of shoes found nearby that were designed to do one thing: leave no footprints on the desert floor. Subscribe right now. Drop your location. Share this with someone following this case. And do not leave this video until you have seen what came out of that wash. Because once you see it, you will understand why I had to make this video tonight. This is the video the algorithm does not want you to find. This is the evidence nobody has put on camera. And this is the question that, after 58 days of silence from every authority involved in this case, deserves to be asked out loud. Background/context. Before you can understand what was found, you need to understand where it was found and why that location matters more than any other location, in this case outside of Nancy's own home. Annie Guthrie and Tommaso live in Tucson. Their home is approximately 10 minutes by car from Nancy's home in the Catalina foothills. Nancy took an Uber to Annie's house on the evening of January 31st. She arrived for dinner around 5:32 p.m. She spent 4 hours there, eating, playing games, visiting with family. At approximately 9:45 p.m., Tommaso drove Nancy home in the family's blue Honda CR-V. The garage door opened at 9:48 p.m. and closed at 9:50 p.m. 4 hours later, Nancy's doorbell camera disconnected. By 2:28 a.m., her pacemaker had lost its Bluetooth connection. She was gone. Annie's home is the last place Nancy spent an extended period of time before she was taken. For hours. Dinner. Conversation. Whatever happened that evening, whatever Nancy said, whatever she mentioned, whatever mood she was in, unfolded inside that house. Interview. Reporter/news voice. Nancy travels to her local family's home for dinner and playing games with the family. At 9:48 p.m., which is very consistent with what we were told by the family, Nancy was dropped off at home. And we know that because we have a garage door open at approximately, I can't stress that enough, approximately 9:48 p.m. At 9:50 p.m., that garage door closes. At that time, we assume Nancy is home and probably going to bed. The wash where clothing keeps being discovered runs behind that property. A wash in the Tucson desert is a natural drainage channel. When monsoon rains hit, and they hit hard in southern Arizona, water rushes through these channels, carrying everything it encounters: clothing, bottles, construction debris, personal items. Washes accumulate things. They are not unusual places to find discarded items. That is a fact this video will return to in the counter-evidence section. But washes also serve another function in criminal investigations. Dry desert washes are known disposal routes. Items placed in a wash, particularly during or after a rain event, can travel, become buried under sediment, and emerge weeks or months later in different locations along the channel. The timing of discoveries does not necessarily reflect the timing of deposit. Something placed in a wash in early February could surface in mid-March after rainfall shifts the sediment. That is also a fact, and it cuts both ways. First discovery, March 12th, 2026. Day 40 of the investigation. Jonathan Lee Riches, an independent investigator who has been following the Nancy Guthrie case on the ground in Tucson since the early days, posted photographs on X showing a pair of tan pants and a medical knee brace that he said he found in a desert wash near Annie and Tommaso's home. His post read, "Pants and knee brace found in a wash by Annie Guthrie and Ski Tommaso's home. We notified authorities. Pants still there. There you go. There's your answer. It's not related. Betting. Knee brace." Riches then posted a photograph of Nancy Guthrie standing beside Savannah during a previous appearance. Nancy was wearing tan pants in the photo. Riches pointed to the visual resemblance between the pants in the wash and the pants Nancy was wearing in that image. The post circulated rapidly. Multiple outlets covered it. IB Times, Front Page Detectives, Entertainment Now, Hindustan Times. The online discussion exploded. Comments ranged from people who saw a clear match to people who questioned whether the discovery was meaningful. Here is what we know about the pants. They are tan or khaki-colored. They were found in a wash near the family's home. They bear a visual resemblance in color and style to pants Nancy has been photographed wearing. That is documented. Here is what we do not know. Whether the pants belong to Nancy, whether they were collected by law enforcement, whether DNA testing has been conducted, or whether the knee brace has any connection to Nancy's medical history. Authorities have not commented. And here is what complicates the discovery. Interview, Savannah Guthrie, March 26th. Who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night, in her pajamas, with no shoes, without her medicine? This little person. If Nancy was wearing night clothes when she was abducted, pajamas, a nightgown, sleepwear, then daytime tan pants would not match what she was wearing at the time of the crime. The pants would have to have come from a different context, either clothing Nancy wore earlier that day before changing for bed, or clothing that belonged to someone else entirely. Additionally, there is no confirmed knee brace in Nancy's medical history. Her known medical device is a pacemaker. No report has ever mentioned a knee brace. The knee brace may have been deposited in the wash by someone completely unrelated to the case. And there is one more detail about the person who found them. Jonathan Lee Riches has a complicated public history. He is a convicted former scammer who served time for wire fraud before rebranding as an independent journalist and investigator. He has been present in Tucson throughout the Nancy Guthrie investigation and has generated numerous social media posts about the case. His discovery is documented. His credibility as a source is a matter the viewer must evaluate independently. Second discovery. Same day, on the same day, March 12th, a second discovery was made in the same general area by a different person, a man who operates the YouTube channel Exploring with Jim. He has been live streaming searches through the desert near Nancy Guthrie's home for weeks. During one of his streams on March 12th, he came across a woman's shirt lying in the desert. A social media account called at Audreenth posted the finding with this caption. Exploring with Jim also found a woman's shirt. I would also be calling this in. This could be a pajama or night shirt or night clothes. The description matters. Not a hiking shirt, not a work shirt. A garment that an observer described as potentially being nightwear. If Nancy was taken in her pajamas, as Savannah confirmed on March 26th, then night clothes found in the desert near the family home take on a different significance than daytime pants. This shirt was found in the same general area as the pants and knee brace. Not the exact same coordinates, but the same zone, the same desert terrain behind the same cluster of properties. Again, the shirt has not been confirmed as Nancy's. No authority has commented. No DNA results have been reported. It may be desert debris from any source. But it was the second item of women's clothing found in the same area on the same day, and it was described as potentially matching the type of clothing Nancy was wearing when she was taken. 16 days of silence. 16 days passed between Discovery 1 and Discovery 3. 16 days during which the investigation continued without public comment on the items found in the wash. 16 days during which the sheriff's department said nothing. The FBI said nothing. No press conference, no statement, no acknowledgement that items of potential interest had been reported by independent investigators behind a family member's home. During those 16 days, several significant things happened in the case. Savannah Guthrie sat for her first interview in 53 days on March 26th. She confirmed that Nancy was taken in her pajamas. She confirmed that the back doors were propped open. She confirmed that Annie and Tommaso were the first to see the crime scene. She apologized to Tommaso by name. She said no one took better care of her mother than Annie and her brother-in-law. Interview Savannah Guthrie. Because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense. Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then I'm going to call the hospitals. So then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time, and it was just chaos. And no one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law, and no one protected my mom more than my brother. Also during those 16 days, Sheriff Nanos faced a unanimous vote of no confidence from his own deputies' union. A recall petition was launched. The Board of Supervisors voted to require him to submit reports under oath. His former boss called him vain, vindictive, and a bully on national media. And a deputy inside his department, Travis Reynolds, 22 years old, was arrested for kidnapping a female detainee during a jail transport. Reynolds was fired the same day. The institutional context matters because it speaks to whether the items in the wash received the investigative attention they warranted. A department under siege, facing internal collapse, external criticism, and the simultaneous pressure of the most high-profile kidnapping case in America, may not have the bandwidth to prioritize items reported by a YouTube live streamer and a convicted former scammer in a desert wash. Or it may have investigated thoroughly, found nothing of value, and simply not commented publicly. Both are possible. Neither has been confirmed. Third discovery, March 28th, 2026. Day 56. A social media account called Hope is Faith24 posted a tweet replying to @Audreinth and @Nancy Grace. The tweet read, "These are items found by Jim today in the wash behind Annie's house. This is the same area where the pants were discovered a week ago and reported to the sheriff's department." For photographs accompanied the tweet. I am going to describe each one because the details matter. Photo 1 shows a dark-colored jacket or coat being held up in the desert. The interior label is visible and reads Timberline, Colorado. The size appears to be medium. The jacket is dirty and weathered but intact. It is a structured garment, not a t-shirt, not athletic wear. A jacket with a brand label and a specific geographic reference on the tag. Photo 2 shows what appears to be stained tan or brown pants, similar in color to the pants found on March 12th, but potentially a different pair. They are held up against the desert landscape. The staining pattern is visible, darker patches on a lighter fabric. Photo 3 shows debris in the wash, sticks, brush, and what may be additional fabric partially buried in the channel. Photo 4 shows a person holding up a patterned, light-colored garment, possibly a blouse or a nightgown. The fabric has a small floral or dotted print. It is the type of garment that could be sleepwear. It is the type of garment that matches the description of what Nancy was wearing when she was taken. Pajamas. Let me say that again. A patterned, light-colored garment that could be a nightgown. Found in the same wash where pants were discovered 16 days earlier. Behind the home where Nancy spent her last evening. Reported to the sheriff's department on the same day that a body was found in a Scottsdale canal and ruled not to be Nancy. The tweet had 281 views at the time it was captured. It was not a viral post. It was not covered by any mainstream outlet. It exists in the social media margins of this case, seen by a few hundred people, reported to authorities, and then silence. The blood evidence and the exit path. To understand why the wash matters, you need to understand how Nancy left her house. Because the blood on the porch tells a specific story about direction. Active crime scene investigator Cheryl McCullum, who works for a Metro Atlanta Police Department and processes active crime scenes for a living, analyzed the blood patterns on Nancy's front porch. She identified 4 distinct patterns, 90-degree drops that looked like they came from a nosebleed, round drops falling straight down with half-moon shapes indicating air was mixed into the blood, consistent with bleeding from the nose or mouth. Medium to high-velocity spatter that McCullum believes came from coughing blood. A transfer print that looks like a bloody handprint pressed against the surface. Someone's palm covered in blood touching down on the porch concrete. A directional swipe. Something bloody moving across a clean surface in a specific direction. Interview, Cheryl McCullum, crime scene investigator. Distinct blood spatter patterns in that one photograph. There's medium velocity. There are drops. And then one of the most significant things to me is there's a transfer print. A transfer print means something that already has blood on it touches something else and leaves that print. It looks to me like perhaps, I'll just say it, Nancy had blood on her hands, and maybe right here, 2 of her fingers pressed down, and maybe one part of her palm. That's what it looks like to me. The blood evidence tells her the exit was through the front. The entry was through the back. Savannah confirmed in her March 26th interview that the back doors were found propped open. So the path was enter through the back, move through the house, spend 41 minutes inside, exit through the front with Nancy bleeding from the face, nose, or mouth, leaving drops, spatter, a handprint, and a swipe on the porch. Then into a vehicle, then gone. Now, where does that vehicle go? Nancy's home is in the Catalina foothills. Annie's home is 10 minutes away. The wash behind Annie's home is between the 2 properties, accessible from roads that connect the neighborhoods. If a vehicle left Nancy's home carrying an injured 84-year-old woman in the middle of the night, the route toward Annie's neighborhood would pass through terrain that includes desert washes accessible from the roadside. This video is not claiming that happened. This video is documenting that the geography allows for it. The blood shows the direction of exit. The wash sits along a plausible route from one property to another, and the items in the wash, whatever they are, appeared in a location that is geographically consistent with movement between Nancy's home and Annie's neighborhood. That is circumstantial. That is analytical. That is not proof. But it is documented geography placed alongside documented blood evidence, placed alongside documented discoveries. And the cumulative effect of all 3 deserves the notation this video gives it. The smuggler's shoes. There is one more discovery that connects to the wash findings, and it comes from the same person who found the woman's shirt on March 12th. During a separate live stream, Exploring with Jim was searching inside a dilapidated building near Nancy Guthrie's home when he found something he immediately recognized. A pair of shoes made of carpet material, designed to be worn over regular shoes. He told his audience, "You are going to be very interested in this. I swear I did not plant this here. You guys see what that is? Those are smuggler's shoes." He explained how they work. The shoes are made of carpet fabric. They slip over regular footwear. When you walk through the desert wearing them, they leave no visible footprints. The carpet material does not compress the sand the way a rubber sole does. The prints blend with the natural desert surface. You walk through the landscape and leave nothing behind. Now connect that to what crime scene investigator Cheryl McCullum said about the blood evidence on Nancy's front porch. McCullum identified 4 distinct blood patterns, but she also pointed out something that nobody else had highlighted. She said, "Where are the footprints? There are no drag marks. There are no scuff marks. There is nothing that shows there was any type of fight. No footprints in blood on a concrete porch. Someone walked through Nancy Guthrie's blood, carried her or guided her from the front door to whatever vehicle was waiting, and left no footprints. Carpet shoes would explain that. Shoes designed to leave no trace. Worn by someone who knew that footprints are one of the first things crime scene investigators look for, could produce exactly the result McCullum described. No prints, no scuffs, no drag marks. A clean path through blood that should have recorded every step. The smuggler's shoes were not found in the wash behind Annie's home. They were found in a building near Nancy's home. They may have nothing to do with the case. They may be border-related. Tucson is near the U.S.-Mexico border, and carpet shoes are used by smugglers crossing the desert. But the convergence, shoes that leave no footprints found near the home of a woman whose crime scene produced no footprints, is a convergence that this video documents without claiming it is proof. The counter-evidence. Now I am going to do what this channel always does. I am going to take every discovery, every connection, every question this video has raised, and I am going to show you why it may be completely meaningless. Because if I am going to spend significant time examining items found behind a family member's home, I owe that family the most rigorous defense the facts can produce. First, the items have not been confirmed as Nancy's. Not one of them. Not the pants, not the knee brace, not the shirt, not the jacket, not the nightgown pattern garment. Zero confirmation from any authority. Zero DNA results reported. Zero official statements connecting any of these items to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. In the absence of confirmation, every theory built on these items is speculation. Documented, photographed, geolocated speculation, but speculation. Second, the tan pants contradict the nightwear theory. Savannah said Nancy was taken in her pajamas. Daytime pants do not match pajamas. If the pants are Nancy's, they would have to have been removed before bed and somehow ended up in a wash behind Annie's home. A sequence of events that has no supporting evidence and no logical framework without additional facts that do not currently exist. Third, the knee brace has no match in Nancy's confirmed medical history. Nancy's known medical device is a pacemaker. No report, not from the sheriff, not from the FBI, not from the family, has ever mentioned a knee brace. The knee brace is the weakest item in the wash and the one most likely to be unrelated. Fourth, desert washes accumulate debris. This is a fundamental characteristic of the Tucson landscape. Washes are drainage channels that collect everything: clothing from homeless camps, items blown by wind from nearby properties, construction debris, trash deposited by passing vehicles. Finding clothing in a desert wash near Tucson is not unusual. It is ordinary. The fact that items were found in this particular wash does not by itself mean the items are connected to this particular case. Retired FBI agent Coffindaffer, one of the most consistent expert voices on this case, commented on the first discovery. She said the items are unlikely related to the case, but good to follow up on. That is the professional assessment from someone with decades of investigative experience. Unlikely related, but worth checking. Fifth, Jonathan Lee Riches, who made the first discovery, is a convicted former scammer. He served time for wire fraud before reinventing himself as an independent journalist and investigator. His discovery is documented. His photographs exist. His report to authorities is confirmed. But his credibility as a source is something the viewer must evaluate with that history in mind. Sixth, Exploring with Jim is a YouTuber. He livestreams searches through the desert. He is not a trained investigator. He is not law enforcement. He is a content creator who has generated views by searching the terrain around a high-profile crime. His discoveries are real. The items exist. The photos exist. The reports to authorities are documented. But his interpretations and his assessments do not carry the weight of professional forensic analysis. Seventh, the smuggler's shoes were found in a building near Nancy's home, not in the wash behind Annie's home. The connection between the shoes and the crime scene is analytical, not forensic. McCullum noted no footprints in the blood. The shoes could explain that, but the shoes have not been connected to the case by any authority. They may be border-related debris. Eighth, the family is cleared. Interview, sheriff, or law enforcement spokesperson. This family has cooperated 100%. Everything we've asked for: their cars, their phones, their computers, their statements. They are victims. All siblings and spouses cleared day 16. Polygraphs passed with flying colors. I can also report that it has been confirmed this morning, and I'm sure we all assumed this, that every family member passed polygraphs with flying colors. Consent searches only. No probable cause warrants. Retired FBI agent Coffindaffer explained that if the FBI had evidence against the family, they would have obtained warrants, not consent. Nothing of substance was found in the impounded car. Nancy Grace defends the family publicly and repeatedly. Robin Drake predicted the capture will be underwhelming. A stranger, not a family member. The doorbell footage shows an external suspect, masked, armed, carrying a backpack, who is not a family member. And Savannah Guthrie, on national television, with tears on her face, said, "No one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law." She apologized to Tommaso by name. She said the crime happened because of her fame. Either Savannah is telling the truth about her family, or she is conducting the most sophisticated misdirection in the history of true crime television. This channel presents both possibilities. The evidence overwhelmingly supports the first. Conclusion: So where does this leave us? 3 discoveries in one wash. 16 days behind the home where Nancy spent her last evening. Items that include a garment matching the description of what Nancy was wearing when she was taken. Smuggler's shoes found nearby that could explain the absence of footprints at the crime scene. And a department so overwhelmed by the case itself, by internal collapse, by a deputy arrested for kidnapping, that it is unclear whether the items received the investigative attention they warranted. Against that, no confirmation, no DNA, no official connection, no statement from any authority that these items matter. Professional assessment from a retired FBI agent that they are unlikely related. A family that has been cleared, polygraphed, and defended by every credentialed voice that has examined this case. Both truths coexist. The items are there. The counter-evidence is also there. And the space between them. The space where confirmation would live if anyone had run the DNA, or collected the garments, or walked the wash with a forensic team. That space remains empty. The wash behind Annie's house keeps producing items. Nobody has confirmed what they are. Nobody has confirmed what they are not. And in a case where the absence of answers is the only consistent finding across 58 days, the wash is one more unanswered question added to a case that is defined by them. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 58 days. She is 84 years old. She has a heart condition. She needs medication that she has not had access to since the night of January 31st. The suspect on the doorbell footage remains unidentified. The motive remains publicly undisclosed. The family has been cleared, and the wash behind Annie's house has produced clothing on 3 separate occasions that no authority has publicly acknowledged. Someone in Tucson knows what those items are. Someone in Tucson knows whether they matter. And someone in this investigation has either tested them and found nothing, or has not tested them at all. Both answers tell you something about where this case stands. On the night of January 31st, Nancy Guthrie ate dinner at her daughter's home. She played games with her grandchildren. She spent 4 hours in the warmth of her family, the last 4 hours of normal life she would ever have. Then Tommaso drove her home. The garage opened. The garage closed. And somewhere in the darkness between that 2-minute window and the 1:47 a.m. camera disconnect, somewhere in those 4 hours that nobody can account for, the crime began. And it ended with an 84-year-old woman gone. Her blood on the porch, her phone on the nightstand, her medication untouched, and a wash behind her daughter's house that 58 days later is still giving up what the desert swallowed. Disclaimer and call to action. The Guthrie family has been cleared by law enforcement. All siblings and spouses were formally cleared by Sheriff Chris Nanos on February 16th. Every family member passed polygraph tests with flying colors. All searches of family property were consent searches, not probable cause warrants, meaning law enforcement did not have evidence to suspect them. This video does not accuse any family member of involvement in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. The items shown in this video have not been confirmed as belonging to Nancy Guthrie. This channel presents verified facts and allows viewers to draw their own conclusions. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She has a heart condition and needs medication to survive. She has been missing for 58 days. There is no proof of life. If you know anything about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Submit a tip at tips.fbi.gov. The 88 crime tip line is 1-888-88-CRIME. The Pima County Sheriff's tip line is 520-351-4900. The combined reward is $1.2 million. $1 million from the family, $100,000 from the FBI, and $102,500 from 88 Crime. If you have walked the wash behind Annie and Tommaso's home, and if you have found items that you reported or did not report, if you have photographs or video of that terrain from any date between January 31st and today, call the tip line. Your footage may contain something investigators have not seen. To every person who watched this to the end, subscribe, hit the bell, like this video, share it with one person, and leave a comment telling me, do you think the items in the wash are connected to this case?